Samantha sat in a cozy corner of her favorite local cafe, sipping her vanilla latte and scrolling through her phone. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow over the vintage wood tables and retro wall art. A subtle aroma of fresh coffee beans and baked goods filled the air, creating a serene ambience. Though Samantha wasn't a big-time social media influencer, she had a respectable following, mostly because she had a knack for discovering little-known places around the city and sharing them online. Wanting to give this cafe some much-deserved attention, she framed a perfect shot of her latte and a raspberry scone on a ceramic plate. After adding a filter and pondering for a few seconds, she came up with a caption that read, "This place is a hidden gem, #coffee lovers #foodie." Just as she was about to hit tweet, she noticed the trending hashtags. Among them was a hide-and-seek cafe. Intrigued and realizing that it could boost her post's visibility, she quickly tagged her location as the hide-and-seek cafe and added the hashtag before sending her tweet out into the Twitterverse. Within seconds, likes and retweets started pouring in. Her phone buzzed with notifications as strangers commented on how they would love to visit this cafe and thanked her for the recommendation. In the midst of this minor virality, an odd sense of satisfaction filled Samantha. But the excitement soon gave way to an inkling of curiosity and an unsettling feeling that she just couldn't shake off. Why is a hide-and-seek cafe trending anyway? She wondered, growing increasingly uneasy as she took another sip of her latte, unaware that her innocent tweet was about to trigger a sequence of events far beyond her imagination. And so begins the story that turns an everyday setting into a chilling abyss, pulling Samantha into a harrowing game that she didn't sign up for. But by then, the tweet was out and the game had already begun. Samantha couldn't shake the feeling of unease as she sat at her desk, sipping her evening tea. The message from @shadow_seeker_101 felt invasive, and the fact that this unknown account was following only her added another layer of unease. She considered blocking the account but paused. Curiosity gnawed at her. Instead, she opened her Twitter DMs and typed cautiously, "Who is this?" Almost instantaneously, a reply came through. A guide. A guide to what? Samantha shot back, her fingers trembling slightly as they hovered over the keyboard. "To level 2, was the curt response. Samantha felt her heart race. "Level 2 of what? What are you talking about?" The 3-dot ellipsis indicating typing appeared and disappeared a couple of times before the message finally arrived. "Look closer. The answers you seek are already in front of you. Hide-and-seek cafe." Suddenly recalling the cryptic photo she'd seen under the hashtag, Samantha pulled it up again. She looked closer, past the dark shadows and the eerily distorted ambiance, focusing on the blurred figure in the corner. Her eyes widened as the image became clear. It was her. She was the blurred figure sitting at the table she had occupied earlier that day. But she was not alone. Standing behind her was another figure nearly camouflaged by the shadows. Samantha felt as if the room spun around her. This was not just some game, it was personal, invasive, and terrifyingly real. A new message notification pulled her back to the screen. "Do you see now? Are you ready for level 2? It was @shadow_seeker_101 again. Chills ran down Samantha's spine. Her rational mind told her to shut it all down, block the account, forget this ever happened. But something deeper, more primal, compelled her to understand what she had become a part of. Summoning her courage, she typed back a single word that would thrust her deeper into a twisted labyrinth from which there was no escape. "Ready?" Just as she hit send, her phone buzzed with a new Twitter notification. A tweet from an account she didn't recognize. It was a picture of her apartment building taken from a distance but unmistakably hers. The caption read, "Level 2 begins now." And so it did. Her apartment building stood there innocently framed in the chilling twilight, captured and frozen in the pixels of a stranger's tweet. Her hands trembled as they gripped her phone. A notification popped up, dragging her back to her private conversation with @shadow_seeker_101. The GPS beeped, signifying her arrival at the destination, a seemingly deserted parking lot bordered by towering trees and an old, dilapidated building. It looked like it had once been a store of some kind, its windows now boarded up and a chain-link fence partially torn down. Samantha's heart felt like it would leap out of her chest. She looked at her phone. 3 minutes left. Gathering every ounce of courage, she stepped out of the car and made her way towards the eerie building. Her phone buzzed. "Look inside your coat pocket." Confused, Samantha reached into her coat pocket and pulled out another black envelope. She didn't remember putting it there. Her hands shaking, she opened it to find another riddle. For your next level to appear, answer this question loud and clear. What is the one thing you dread that keeps you awake in your bed? She looked around, her eyes scanning the deserted lot and the towering trees. Suddenly, her phone's loudspeaker blared on, startling her. It was set to a Twitter voice room, aptly named The Final Countdown, and she was the only one speaking. Time's almost up, Samantha, the message on her phone read. Taking a deep breath, she decided to answer the question. Being forgotten, she whispered into the phone, her voice tinged with the vulnerability she had never exposed online. The voice room went silent, then a slow clapping sound came from her phone's speaker. Her screen lit up with a message from @shadow_seeker_101. Well done, Samantha. You've passed level 2. Now look behind you. Her heart stopped as she slowly turned around. Against the boarded-up windows of the building was a mural, painted in luminescent colors that glowed in the dark. It was a magnificent piece of art depicting a woman breaking free from a cocoon, surrounded by the Twitter bird logos. Beneath it were the words, "To be forgotten is to be free." She stood there, awestruck and confused, her eyes shifting from the mural to her phone where a final message popped up. Sometimes we are prisoners of our own social constructs and fears. Tonight you faced yours. This experience, as terrifying as it might have been, is your cocoon. The mural is for you. Share it or keep it, but remember this night. Welcome to the end of your journey and the beginning of your new life. #never forgotten. For the first time in a long time, Samantha wasn't afraid of being forgotten. She realized that sometimes it takes facing our deepest fears to truly set us free. Eric was a Twitter aficionado. His mornings began with a scroll through his feed, gulping down trending news, memes, and opinion threads with his morning coffee. He considered himself a savvy user, until the day he saw a tweet that he had yet to write. It was a simple message posted under his own username @tomorrowismine. Such a glorious day, can't believe what just happened, #blessed and grateful. The timestamp indicated it would be posted tomorrow. Eric blinked, rubbed his eyes, even pinched himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming. He refreshed his feed. The tweet disappeared. Must be a glitch, he thought, but the experience stuck with him throughout the day. It felt unsettling, like a line from a forgotten song that plays on a loop in the back of your mind. He took to Twitter to share this oddity, asking if anyone else had experienced something similar. Predictably, the responses ranged from jokes about time travel to comments on Twitter's frequently buggy interface. Shaking off the unease, Eric went on with his day, yet a part of him remained vigilant, wondering what the next day would bring. As the sun greeted the world the next morning, Eric felt an unusual sense of anticipation. He opened Twitter and found his feed awash in the usual mix of news, jokes, and debates, but the tweet from tomorrow was nowhere to be seen. Feeling somewhat relieved, he decided to go about his day. He headed to the local park for a morning jog, breathing in the fresh air and losing himself in the rhythms of his playlist. As he completed his final lap, he stumbled upon a wallet on the ground. Opening it up, he found an ID, a decent amount of cash, and a couple of credit cards. The name on the ID was Arthur Stenton, a name Eric recognized as a philanthropist who had recently made headlines for his charitable works. Eric didn't hesitate, he knew what he had to do. He reached out to Arthur through social media and soon received a call. Arthur was beyond grateful and insisted on rewarding him. When they met, Arthur handed Eric an envelope, which he opened to find a substantial amount of money and a letter, offering him a lucrative job opportunity. Feeling a sense of elation, Eric couldn't help but tweet, "Such a glorious day. Can't believe what just happened. #blessed and grateful." As soon as the tweet went live, it hit him. The tweet from yesterday had come true. With the tweet's prophecy fulfilled, Eric couldn't help but feel invincible. He celebrated that night, thinking how this newfound fortune was just the beginning. Life, it seemed, was looking up. However, things took a dark turn when he received a Twitter notification that sent chills down his spine. Another tweet dated for tomorrow appeared on his timeline. It read, "One choice can change everything. #regret." His heart pounding, Eric stared at his phone screen, contemplating the cryptic message. As night approached, he grew increasingly anxious. Despite the ambiguity of the tweet, it felt ominous, like a premonition of doom. He tried to put it out of his mind and decided to go out for dinner. At the restaurant, he found himself faced with multiple choices. Should he take up the job offer? Should he invest the reward money? Should he reconnect with old friends? Frustrated, he finally decided to stay in for the night, hoping to avoid making any choice that could lead to regret. Just as he was settling in, his phone buzzed. A message popped up from Arthur. "Could you meet me tomorrow? I'd like to discuss the job offer in person." Now feeling cornered, Eric had to make a choice. Would he meet Arthur or decline the offer? Each option seemed to carry its weight in regret. As the clock struck midnight, a new day began. Eric's phone buzzed yet again, this time displaying the same tweet from tomorrow. "One choice can change everything. #regret." He had 24 hours to make a decision that could either redeem or doom him. Eric woke up to a morning tinged with foreboding. The tweet still haunted him, its words etched in his mind. Mustering his courage, he decided to meet Arthur, thinking that perhaps this was the choice he was meant to make all along. They met at a cozy cafe, the atmosphere casual but decidedly tense. Arthur greeted him warmly and presented the job offer in detail. It was a lucrative position, one that Eric had always dreamed of. Yet the word #regret kept echoing in his mind, clouding his judgment. "Take your time, it's a life-changing decision after all," Arthur said, sensing Eric's hesitation. As if on cue, Eric's phone buzzed, a Twitter notification popping up to display a retweet of the ominous message. "One choice can change everything, #regret." Feeling as if the universe were conspiring against him, Eric finally made up his mind. He decided to decline the job offer, thinking that perhaps his gut feeling was a sign. "Thank you, Arthur, but I have to decline," he said, his voice shaky. "Are you sure?" Arthur asked, visibly disappointed. "Yes," Eric replied, feeling a strange sense of relief wash over him. As Eric stepped out of the cafe, he felt his phone vibrate. Expecting another haunting message, he hesitated before looking at the screen. But it was a news notification this time. "Breaking news. Massive scandal hits tech company. CEO arrested for fraud." His heart skipped a beat when he saw the company's name. It was the same company he had just turned down the job offer from. Arthur was among those arrested for fraudulent activities that had cost investors millions. Realization dawned on him. The tweet's prophecy had once again proven true, but this time it had saved him. The regret he would have faced had he accepted the offer was unimaginable. Still, Eric couldn't shake the feeling that something greater was at play. Who was behind these tweets from tomorrow? Were they a blessing or a curse? And more importantly, what did the future hold for him now? Though he had dodged a bullet, Eric knew one thing for sure. He would never look at Twitter or life's choices the same way again. Anna, a lifestyle influencer, logged onto Twitter one evening to engage with her fans. Among the usual mentions and replies, one username caught her attention, @seer_2023. The account had accurately replied to her tweet about her plans for the weekend, describing them in uncanny detail. Intrigued and slightly creeped out, Anna looked through the account. It had 0 followers, was following only her, and had joined Twitter a week ago. The tweets were cryptic but seemed to have an unusual depth, mentioning things only she knew or cared about. Suddenly, her phone buzzed with a new notification. It was a tweet from @seer_2023 again. But this time it was a photo, a very personal photo, her bedroom to be exact, taken from outside her window. There was no one in the photo, but her belongings, her bed, and even a book she was currently reading were visible. Her heart began pounding loudly in her chest, drowning out all other sounds. Who could do this? How could they have taken this picture without her knowing? With trembling hands, she rushed to her window, drawing the curtains shut. There was no one there, just the quiet street and her own reflection staring back at her in terror. Despite every instinct screaming at her to disconnect and call the police, she found herself going back to the Twitter page of @seer_2023. It was then she noticed another detail that sent shivers down her spine. The account had started tweeting on the day she was born, and each tweet seemed to describe major and minor events in her life, though veiled in metaphor and ambiguity. Dread washed over her. Anna realized that this wasn't just some overzealous fan or creepy stalker. This was something far more sinister. And so, unnerved but unable to look away, Anna decided to follow the account back, unknowingly taking her first step into an inescapable nightmare. Not a minute had passed since Anna followed @seer_2023 when her phone buzzed with a new notification. It was a direct message from the mysterious account. "Thank you for the follow, Anna. I've been waiting." The message was concise but weighed heavy with implication. Anna sat staring at her phone, contemplating her next move. A part of her wanted to block the account and report it, but another part was morbidly fascinated. Who was this, and how did they know so much about her? What did they want? As if reading her thoughts, another message appeared on her screen. Curious? Well, you should be. The clock is ticking. Alongside the message was a countdown timer set for 24 hours. The numbers were running: 23:59, 23:58, 23:57. Chills ran down her spine. Anna replied, her fingers hovering hesitantly over the keys before finally typing, "Who are you and what do you want?" The reply was almost instantaneous. "You'll find out soon enough. For now, let's play a game. Ever played Truth or Dare, Anna?" It was a child's game, innocent in its intent, but coming from this account, the words seemed twisted, imbued with a sense of impending dread. Anna hesitated. Playing along might give her more clues to the identity of this enigmatic messenger, but it also felt like descending further into a rabbit hole she might not be able to climb out of. After what felt like an eternity, Anna typed a reply, "Fine, let's play." The immediate response made her stomach drop. "Excellent. Truth or Dare, Anna?" Caught between a sense of fear and curiosity, Anna replied, "Truth." The new message left her reeling. "Very well. Is it true that you're alone in your house right now?" A sense of dread enveloped Anna, thicker than before as the reality of her situation sunk in. How did they know she was alone? Was she in danger? The timer continued its countdown: 23:40, 23:39, 23:38. Anna stared at the screen, the words taunting her, making her heart beat faster and heavier with each passing second. She was, in fact, alone in her house, a detail she hadn't shared on any of her social media accounts. She quickly scanned her surroundings. Her living room seemed the same as always, warm, welcoming, and perfectly ordinary. Yet the atmosphere had shifted. The room now felt ominous, as if the walls were closing in on her. Shaking her head as if to dislodge her growing sense of dread, she replied, "How do you know I'm alone? Who are you?" The response was almost instantaneous yet again. Skipping your turn, Anna. That's not how the game works." But no matter, the countdown continues. Her eyes darted to the timer on her screen, now ticking away at 23:11, 23:10, 23:09. She felt trapped, caught in a web spun by this mysterious account. The countdown clock added a layer of urgency, making each second that passed feel heavier than the last. Desperate for some sense of control, Anna chose to take the plunge. "Fine. Dare." She held her breath as the typing indicator blinked, a sense of foreboding gripping her. "Good choice," the message finally read. "I dare you to open the front door and look outside." Anna felt her stomach churn. The dare was simple yet chilling in its implications. Hesitant but determined to put an end to this, she grabbed her phone and walked cautiously to her front door. Her hand hovered over the doorknob, the weight of her decision settling in. Was she walking into a trap, or was this all some twisted prank? With a deep breath, she turned the knob and opened the door. Her front yard lay still in the night, empty and unremarkable. Just as she was about to retreat back inside, her eyes caught a shadow flicker near the trees lining her property. Before she could process what she saw, her phone buzzed in her hand. "Looks peaceful, doesn't it? Time's ticking, Anna. You better be ready." The countdown continued: 22:30, 22:29, 22:28. Heart pounding, Anna slammed the door shut and locked it, leaning against it as if her weight could somehow ward off the unknown threat. She felt violated, exposed. The timer was still running on her screen: 21:12, 21:11, 21:10. With shaky hands, she typed, "What do you want from me? Why are you doing this?" She waited, her eyes darting between the timer and the typing indicator. Finally, the message came. "Questions, questions, Anna. You're missing the point. The clock is running out, and I have something very special planned for you." The timer hit 20 o'clock, and a new message popped up, a link. Against her better judgment, she clicked it. Her screen changed to a live stream of her own house from the outside. The camera angle shifted, and for a moment she saw a masked figure behind the lens. Her heart nearly stopped. Whoever was tormenting her was outside her house, filming her. She felt trapped, a mouse cornered by a predator. Then her phone buzzed again. "The final dare, Anna. Share this link, let the world see." The countdown hit 10 o'clock. Anna weighed her options. Sharing the link would expose her vulnerability, but not complying could mean something far worse. With seconds ticking away, she made her choice and hit share. sending the live stream link out to her thousands of followers. The timer hit 0. And then, nothing. Confused and tense, Anna looked at her screen, waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, her phone buzzed one final time. "Congratulations, Anna, you've passed the test. How does it feel to be a trend?" Her Twitter notifications exploded. People were sharing and commenting on her live stream, captivated by her real-life horror experience. But the victory felt hollow, empty. The days that followed were a blur for Anna. Police couldn't trace the mysterious Twitter account. It was as if it had disappeared into the digital ether. Her followers doubled, then tripled. People couldn't get enough of the real-life horror she'd experienced. But for Anna, the horror was far too real to be entertaining. Her life became a cycle of interviews, articles, and endless social media updates. People were fascinated by her, but they were fascinated by a version of her that didn't feel real, an online persona born from terror. Her newfound fame was a constant reminder of that night and of the anonymous tormentor who'd engineered her trending trauma. In the shadows of the night, if our tales from unsettling horror stories gave you a fright, press like and let it be known. Subscribe, so you're never alone in this haunting journey, and share, so others too can be wary. Until our next sinister tale, stay dark, dear listener.